Hickok 45 here. Have you ever looked at your sheriff or police chief and thought they were crazy? Well, maybe, but because they carry such a small gun. This thing's called a sheriff's model. Look at the barrel. What's wrong with the sheriff? He must be crazy. Why would he carry something like this? Whoa, wow. Let's get another. Oh, he missed it. Yeah, missed it again. All right, can't see my sights in this light. Gotta have an excuse. So yeah, the sheriff's model, you're familiar with these, probably storekeeper's model, sheriff's model. These are from the Old West, you know, single action versions. We'll talk about modern versions of the firearms that the police chief or the sheriff might carry. And yeah, basically it's not a myth, you know. Now sometimes it's not the case, but oftentimes the sheriff carries a smaller firearm, sometimes a very small firearm. So why is that? I thought the sheriff was like one of the top. Oh, I forgot. I got to use a pen to get that out. Yeah, if I shoot it again. But yeah, doesn't even have an ejector rod. Again, the sheriff is crazy, right? Let's go over here and talk about this a little bit. I thought maybe some of you were lying awake at night, losing sleep over issues like this. So it's my job to kind of help you out, right? Let me grab a pen. I'll get that ammo out. Of course, it's not really ammo, it's empty cases, isn't it? And I wasn't really planning to shoot a lot, or I'd have thought about that. You know, me, as smart as I am. So yeah, it doesn't even have an ejector rod, and not a big deal, you know, a stick. I should have done what I usually do, is go down to the ground and get a stick, right? Maple, hickory, poplar, whatever. So, yeah, small gun. And I'm going to give you the reason, because you probably don't know why the sheriff might be carrying such a small, inadequate handgun, whether it's 1879 or it's 1979 or maybe 2025, right? So I want to first thank Davidson's Gallery of Guns for their support of the channel. You get a guaranteed lifetime replacement on firearms purchase there. Check them out at Gallery of Guns. Silencer Central, great place. Make the Banish suppressor. You've seen a lot of them around here. Appreciate their support. The Sonoran Desert Institute, get some distance learning. You can take courses in firearms technology, gunsmithing, drone technology. Appreciate their support. All right, so back to the topic. I've got some other guns here. So this gets to the subject in the modern day, right? These now, you know, actually we have a little different take on this, I guess, these days maybe, because so many of us do carry small firearms, and many of us, and you, I guess us is you too, right, have learned that small handguns like this, little 2-inch barrel, they actually shoot really well, and you can hit what you need to hit generally, right? With a 2-inch barrel, here you got a 3-inch barrel, little K-frame, that kind of thing. Got a 3-inch barrel on this big old Colt, you know. But that's we have learned that might be enough, right? But often the sheriff or the police chief is carrying something, you know, speaking of police chief, like a chief special, a J-frame, like that. That's loaded. I'll just lay it out there anyway. That is a descendant of the Chief Special, right? Smith & Wesson 38 Special, J-frame. So, why do they carry a smaller firearm after they have, you know, risen to the top in the department or whatever, elected sheriff of the county? Well, like I said, a lot of you losing sleep over that. But the sheriff, think about the sheriff. What does the sheriff do? Sheriff is probably not crazy for carrying a little gun. He might be crazy, but he's not crazy necessarily for carrying a small gun, or the police chief. Because what does the sheriff do? What does the police chief do? They spend a lot of their day shuffling papers, right? You know, in court or dealing with personnel, and there's a lot of administrative work. They may get out on a call occasionally, and if they end up needing to help somebody on a serious call or something, they have access to other firearms. They can grab a long gun, grab a shotgun, a rifle, if it's a really serious situation. And so, you know, that's a lot of it right there, isn't it? A small gun is all they need. They don't need to be lugging around a gigantic, heavy revolver or semi-automatic. I don't even have a semi-automatic out here today, do I? But when it comes to mind, the revolvers come to mind, and the fact that we have these guns like this that are actually called sheriff's model, you know, and you know what? It says it right on the barrel, Colt sheriff's model. And so, in case you were looking through a catalog or you were in a gun shop or a gun show and you saw this gun, some of you might have actually thought, sheriff's model. Only a sheriff could carry one with a short barrel like that, I guess. Or there's some special reason for that. Well, it's basically that the sheriff is not involved in shootouts every day and arresting people, you know, every hour. It just doesn't necessarily need to be as well armed, maybe, as the deputies and the police officers, you know, other police officers in the city or wherever. I'll tell you when this came to my mind. Back in the 70s, I was really into big revolvers, 44, 45, you know, and all that, and was just really getting into firearms. And I guess it was a time when more power was better, you know, the more power you had, and the bigger the gun, and all that sort of thing, more ammo. We were all impressed with the new Smith & Wesson, what was it, Model 59, or the Browning high power, lots of bullets, or the big 44s and 357 Magnum. I remember seeing the sheriff of the county where I lived in. He had a gun on his hip. He was at a restaurant. He had a little gun like this, like in a holster on his hip. You could barely see the firearm. I remember thinking at the time, it was really out of naivete. I was just kind of ignorant really at the time, probably still ignorant, right? But I thought, wow, this guy's a sheriff, and he's carrying this little snub-nosed 38 or whatever it was. Wow, why does he do that? Why doesn't he arm himself with a real firearm? And little did I know, he probably could have taken me out in about 2 seconds, you know. And you know, just the way it is. A small firearm doesn't necessarily put you at a disadvantage, as we all know, I think. And it's just the way it is. The sheriff doesn't need a big old gun. Something like this, a sheriff's model, is probably fine, right? And before I let you go, I want to thank Alabama Holster. You see some of them out here. There's even my phone holster over there. I had to take my phone off just to get this cross straw on. But Alabama Holster, they make all these great little pocket holsters and belt holsters, purse holsters. Appreciate their support, okay? And the moral to the story is, I don't want you to think your sheriff or your police chief is totally crazy or idiotic. You may not like them, you know, for whatever reason, you didn't vote for them or something, but they're not crazy because they carry a small gun. They just probably don't need a big gun. It's not part of their duties generally, okay? No charge for this information. Life is good.
Oh yeah, that's better. This is a great gun for defense. Oh hey, didn't see you guys there. While I've got you here, I want to remind you of our friends over at Talon Grips and Ballistol. Talon Grips makes grips, can you believe it, for all different types of firearms. You can get rough texture or more of a rubberized texture. It just sticks right on there. You know, really affordable, really cool option to improve the grip for your handguns or rifles. So please check them out at talongungrips.com. You'll be glad you did. And also Ballistol. Dad has been using Ballistol for many years. It's a cleaner and a lubricant, and it's non-toxic. It works really great, and we're happy to have them on board since it's been a part of our shooting endeavor for a very long time. So go to ballistol.com, talongungrips.com. And also, while you're out there, I'm juggling all these things here. Also, while you're on the internet, please do check out our other social media like Hickok45 on Facebook. There's also Hickok45 on Twitter, The Real Hickok45 on Instagram. There's a John_Hickok45 on Instagram where I do some things. There's Hickok45.com. You can find us also on Gunstreamer. So check out all that stuff and then watch more videos.